Alright everyone, please make sure you have a seat. I'm going to read this amendment one more time, and you are going to tell me if it's good or not. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any objections to that? Yeah, you know what? I have a problem with that new law, Mr. Jefferson. I mean, for God's sake, man, what if the weapons of the future get so out of hand that we can't control them? And now what if the government of the United States gets so large that we can't control it, Mr. Biden? Well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna need more firepower, but I don't know, man. And as you may already know, Mr. Biden, we already know that weapons are getting more advanced. We just can't afford to purchase them because they are expensive. We have the Girandoldi repeating air created in 1779. It can fire 22 bullets per minute. The Benton Fusel and superposed flintlocks. Benton, the creator, wrote us in 1776 and said he'd designed a way to make a musket discharge up to 8 rounds in 3 seconds. Mr. Washington, who is here with us today, then ordered 100 of them for the army. Also, we have the Puckle gun, which can shoot 9 shots in a minute. May I continue, Mr. Biden? No, Mr. Jefferson, you don't have to continue. I mean, just, come on, man. For God's sake. Do you think people should own cannons? Well, by golly, yes! Mr. Madison, I believe you have this one. Yes, sir, indeed I do. Someone wrote me a letter once and asked if he could have a cannon to defend his boat. I said, heck yeah, you can have cannons, and I told him to shoot down any enemy vessel he saw. So if people back in the day could own a cannon, then people today should be able to own any gun that they want. Okay. Now I just have one more question for all of you founding father people guys. What exactly is the militia in that law? We don't have a well-regulated militia. Well, I think that George Mason has an answer for that. Yes, sir, I do. You ask, sir, what is the militia? It is the whole people, except for a few public officials. Meaning that every single American citizen is a part of the militia, meaning that every single American citizen should be able to own a rifle or a gun of their choosing. Alright, with that out of the way, hopefully we can put this into law and there will be no more controversy.
What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 98th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. So, the last few weeks, I decided to take a little break. My life has been a little bit crazy recently, sorry about that, but we are back. And during that break, we had a lot of situations that were going on in our country that we have to go through right now. Just a few weeks ago, the government created a misinformations board. We talked about this in a past episode. The government was trying to attack the First Amendment. And guess what? It failed, as now that misinformation board is gone. So now the government, along with the media, are going after another amendment, the Second Amendment, which is something that they have wanted to destroy for a very long time. Now, 2 weeks ago, I made a video talking about how we should cherish life, especially in the womb. I should have elaborated more on that and mentioned people that are killed in gun violence and mass shootings, because their lives should be cherished as well. People should be able to go to the supermarket without getting killed. People should be able to go to the subway station without being shot down and killed. And children should not be afraid to go to school because some stupid scumbag wants to kill kids. It seems like all of these situations of gun violence is never ending. And every day we are hearing story after story of people doing evil things to other people. All of them are absolutely sickening and heartbreaking. Many famous people, including politicians, have said, "We need to do something." And then we will ask them the very simple question of what their ideas are. And they point to gun control or taking away the guns of citizens that have done absolutely nothing wrong. However, we still have to find a way to stop these different situations. How can we do that while still defending the Second Amendment and making sure that people have a right to defend themselves? Well, today I want to give you some solutions that we could implement into our schools and possibly into our daily lives to help protect us and our children. Luckily for you all, I made a list. Number 1. We need to stop giving the shooter fame. So people that commit these sorts of crimes are absolutely sick in the head. And I don't think that their name and face should be put on TV or anywhere in the media. Any news article, Facebook, Twitter, all of it. You name it. Their face should not be shown. Once again, these people are absolutely sick. So maybe they are doing these different attacks to get their 15 minutes of fame. And doing something so evil and so heinous was the only way to do that. Instead, we and the media can call them scumbags or terrible people that should not be praised or even recognized. Along with this, hopefully this would stop people from doing copycat attacks. Like right now, we all know who the Columbine scumbags were. We might not know their names, but we know their faces. We know who the Sandy Hook scumbag was. We might not know his name, but we see his face. We know who the Virginia Tech scumbag was. Once again, we might not remember his name, but we've all seen his face. We know who all these people are because the media talks about them. There could be someone out there that is so sick in the head that they think, "Oh, I want to be like that person," and then they commit such a terrible crime against people. Along with this, the white supremacist shooter that killed 10 people at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, was inspired by a scumbag that killed 11 people at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018. He was also inspired by the scumbag that shot 51 people in 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. All 3 of these attacks were racially motivated, believing in a terrible racist theory that somehow people of color are taking over white people. Now, this plan might not be the perfect plan, but hopefully we could stop copycat shootings. Or we could stop people from wanting to be like these other scumbags and get their 15 minutes of fame. Number 2. One entrance into schools. According to sources, the shooter in Uvalde, Texas, that was a school shooting, was able to get into the school because either a teacher left a door open or one of the doors was unlocked, and the scumbag was able to walk right in and kill innocent children. This is absolutely unacceptable. Usually, at schools, there are a long row of doors at the front of the building. This usually consists of 2 or 3 sets of doors at the front of the building. In the morning, when students are coming in, those doors are open. And after every student is inside, those doors are closed and locked. The office of the school will be right in front, because they're going to be the ones that check people in after the doors are locked. Let's say, for example, your child is late to school. There should be no way of you getting into the building except through the front door. And at that front door, there will be a doorbell that you will ring for the office. The office will then speak to you over intercom, maybe asking for your name, maybe your child's name, making sure that you are a reliable source, or the parent of that child. The office worker from their desk will be able to unlock the door, and then you will be able to proceed into the school. If the office sees someone with a gun or acting suspicious, they can keep those doors locked and call 911, and the shooter won't be able to get into any other spot in the school because all the other doors will be locked. All the doors around the school can only be opened by a teacher with a key fob. When I worked at a school a long time ago, this is how it worked. and it honestly made me feel very safe. And now, because I said only one entrance, that doesn't mean that there are multiple exits. As if we only have one way of getting into the school, there should be other ways of leaving the school as well. Say, for example, a shooter somehow gets in. The teachers should be able to close their door to their classroom, lock the doors, and then use another exit to get the students outside and into safety. That way we have a clear entrance plan, which is at the very front of the school, and we have a clear exit plan when something goes wrong. And it's not just for an active shooter, it can also be for a tornado or for a fire. Number 3, eliminate gun-free zones. Celebrities are protected with guns. The president is protected with guns. Why can't we do the same for our children? Now, I know that there is a lot of controversy when discussing if teachers should be able to carry guns. It is concerning that a teacher could maybe pull a gun on a student when they are misbehaving. Or, even worse, a teacher could shoot and kill a student, either on accident or on purpose, which is terrible. Teachers, however, should not be banned from carrying guns if they want to. We should make it voluntary, not mandatory. Or we could make it so, say for example, the principal or a janitor has a gun, so they aren't in the classroom directly with the students, so there are no headlines of teachers shooting students. However, if you are still skeptical about teachers or principals or janitors having guns, why doesn't the school hire a police officer or a guard or some sort of officer that is armed and is trained in hand-to-hand combat and is a skilled shooter? I personally want to read more headlines that says, teachers, or a guard, or a principal, or a janitor shoots and kills would-be school shooter. Along with that, instead of the sign saying gun-free zone, what if the sign said, there are teachers in this building that are armed, and if you try to shoot any student, you'll be shot and killed yourself? Listen, we need to stop creating situations where the students in the classroom are just sitting ducks. We need to give them a chance at living and surviving and defending themselves. I still think that teachers should be armed, whether that be voluntary or not, because sometimes the cops may take a long time, or they are incompetent for some reason and won't go into the school. As this Texas school shooting should have ended a lot earlier than it did, as there were police officers there, but they were for some reason waiting outside. Apparently they were waiting for backup, and there are reports that some of them said they didn't want to go in because they were scared they were going to get shot. Hold on, this is your job. Your job is to protect and serve the community. You are scared that you are going to get shot, but there are literal 10-year-olds that are dying in that building. That is absolutely horrible and horrific. Some reports have said that some of these police officers saved their own children, but did not go in to stop the shooter. Honestly, I don't understand how stupid and cowardly these police officers are. There were children inside the school using the cell phone of the teacher that tragically passed away to call 911 to ask for help, but they were too late. There are terrible videos of parents outside the school demanding the officers to either A, do something, or B, they, the parents, were going to do something. There is a picture of a parent being detained by a police officer, and one of them has their taser out. They were willing to arrest the parents of these students that were literally getting killed inside the building, but they wouldn't go in and get the shooter. This is why teachers or someone in the school needs to be armed as a last resort, because sometimes the police officers don't want to do their job. I mean, the shooter was in there for an hour, locked in the classroom, and the stories from these children that survived are just horrific and terrible, and should have been prevented. Luckily for the school and the students that were still alive in the classroom, there was a Border Patrol agent close by that stormed into the school and was able to shoot and kill the shooter. The patrol agent was off duty, and going into the building was against protocol, but he did it anyway, because he knew that the children's lives were important, and he had to do something. Children should be protected at school. If the police won't do it, then let the teachers or a janitor or a principal do it. This was also the situation that happened with this stupid, evil white supremacist shooter, as he decided to do the shooting in New York because they had strict gun laws. As in New York, there was something called the Gifford Law Center, and according to them, New York residents are prohibited from openly carrying a loaded handgun outside of their house without carrying a license. Along with that, the center also said the state also prohibits any person from possessing a loaded short-barrel shotgun or rifle or an assault weapon outside of his or her home or place of business. To this evil man, he saw these people as sitting ducks and decided to take people's lives because he believed in a terrible racist conspiracy theory that black people were trying to kill all white people and replace them. If the supermarket had a sign that said, "You are allowed to carry," I bet the shooter would have gone to a different store. Or you would hope that he wouldn't do this act at all. It is my belief that we need to give people a fighting chance. There was a person in that supermarket, however, that was armed and tried to stop this shooter. His name was Aaron Salter. He was a retired Buffalo police officer. He shot at the shooter, but the shooter had tactical gear on, and sadly, Sattler was killed by the gunman. However, this man should be seen as a hero, as he was brave enough to stand up to the shooter. He was a lot braver than the police officers in Uvalde, who did nothing. And maybe, while the shooter was focusing on him, it gave the police more time to get to the situation. Or it gave other people a chance to escape and leave the building. All that I want is for people to have a fighting chance. And we can do that by arming more people, not taking away guns. Number 4, more background checks. It would be incredible for gun shops to see into the future and see which people are going to be violent killers and which ones are just going to try to hunt or protect themselves. Sadly, they can't do that. And the best thing they can do is perform a background check on the person to make sure that they're not a criminal. It is a fact that most Americans, some will say even 90% of Americans, support background checks. The good thing is that we already have background checks, as any time you buy a gun, you have to do a background check. That is every single time. For every single gun. There is no gun shop in America that you can walk into and say, "Hey, I want to buy a gun with no background check." That is illegal. They will laugh you out of the building. However, there are still people out there that believe this idea that you can go and just buy a gun at a gun show and you don't have to get a background check. This is wrong as well, as even at a gun show, they are required by law to perform a background check. Like I said before, sadly, these background checks are not magical, and they can't predict who will commit a heinous crime. Because here's the sad part. Both the Texas school shooter and the white supremacist supermarket shooter both passed their background checks. As Robert Donald, the gun store owner that sold the white supremacist shooter his gun, told the Times that he conducted a background check on the alleged shooter, and that nothing turned up. Donald later said he didn't stand out. Along with that, the Texas school shooter bought his guns after his 18th birthday, and he also passed his background checks. So what can we do to help these background checks so maybe we can stop the next mass shooter? We know that both of these shooters were messed up in the head. So maybe we should try to promote background checks that also check the mental health of the individual. This doesn't mean that all the people that have mental health issues can't have a gun. But if they are hearing voices in their head telling them to kill people or themselves, maybe they shouldn't have a gun because it may lead to violence. I've always been a strong supporter of people going through a gun safety course before they get a gun, so then they understand that having a gun is not a toy. It is something that is very serious. And maybe the teacher of these classes could learn more about the students in the safety class and learn if that person is mentally incapable of having a gun. The instructor could find out that a student has a racist belief and has claimed that he wants to kill people that are minorities. And then they could prevent this person from getting a gun. Number 5, ban assault rifles. We could pull off something that the radicals of this world have wanted to do for so long. We could ban all guns, and with a snap of our fingers, no one would die ever again, and everyone would just be wonderful and peaceful. Now, of course, I don't believe that this is a good idea. I just wanted to shock you a little bit. Now, most logical people don't want to ban all guns. Some people just want to ban assault rifles, because most of these shootings are done with assault rifles. But here's a question. What is an assault rifle? Is it a semi-automatic gun, where if you pull the trigger, one bullet flies out? Because if it is, then that means that every single handgun will have to be eliminated. Every single rifle. And the only exception would really be a shotgun. If radicals had their way, they would ban the AR-15 right away, because apparently it is terrible and evil. So let's say, for example, we ban all AR-15s. Would mass shootings stop? Nope. Because most of these people are evil and will turn to other guns to do their crimes. It is also a fact that most homicides are done with handguns, not rifles or AR-15s. So after AR-15s are banned, handguns will be more popular, and then there will be a mass shooting with handguns, and we will have to have them banned as well, just like in Canada. Then when handguns are banned, people will start planting explosives, so then we have to ban those, and then there will be knife attacks, and then we will have to ban those, and it just goes on and on and on and on. Criminals don't follow the law. That's why they're called criminals. They will always find a way to kill and hurt people. We also know that the government banning guns is always a terrible idea, as many genocidal authoritarian governments have banned guns. It won't work, and it didn't work. Even Karl Marx, that was full of stupid ideas, that didn't work, like communism and socialism. Marx, however, did have one good idea. As he said, under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. This definitely does not excuse what these two criminals did last week, because what they did was evil. But we cannot take away the rights of millions of Americans because of some actions of a few evil people. So these are my solutions to the problem that we are facing right now. Luckily, however, it took me so long to get this episode out that Joe Biden came out and gave some of his solutions as well. Here's what he wrote in a tweet. He said we need to ban assault weapons, which we talked about. There is no clear definition of what an assault weapon is, so we don't know what we're even banning. He continued the tweet by saying, and if we can't, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Now that's fine with me. Maybe then the voting age should be 21. And maybe we were smart as a country to make the drinking age 21. Our country needs to figure out when we are an adult and when we are a child. If it's 21, then you should be able to do all the things that adults do at 21. If it's 18, then you should be able to do all the things that adults do at 18. Joe Biden also says that he wants to ban high-capacity magazines. And here's the problem. People can illegally modify their guns so then they shoot more bullets. I believe that this is what happened with the Buffalo shooter. Criminals will break the law because, once again, they are criminals. Joe Biden continued by saying we need to strengthen background checks. That's a good thing. I'm glad that we already have background checks, but making them stronger makes sense. Then Joe Biden said enact safe storage laws. Now this one is kind of funny, because the government wants you to lock up your guns and bullets in different safes. So if an intruder comes into your house, you have to open up 2 safes while the intruder is stealing all your crap. And that criminal could shoot you first. Joe Biden also said that we need red flag laws. Now, for some of this, I agree with it, as there have been reports that the Texas shooter was absolutely crazy. According to one of his friends, he had a plastic bag full of dead kittens. Which, if that's not a red flag, then I don't know what is. Joe Biden also said we need to repeal gun manufacturers' immunity from liability. Now, this one is absolutely stupid. This is saying if someone shoots me with an Armalite rifle, aka an AR-15, I can sue Armalite. If that's the case, does that mean if I get into a car accident, I can sue Chevy? If my friend smacks me in the head with a beer bottle, that's glass, and it cuts open my head and I have to get 13 stitches, does that mean I can sue Budweiser? No, you can't, because the company has nothing to do with that. Along with that, we just need to take what Joe Biden says about guns with a grain of salt because the man has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to guns. As he recently said that a 9mm can literally knock the lung out of the human body. And he has said multiple times that when the Second Amendment was written, you couldn't own a cannon, which was also a lie, as James Madison wrote a guy with a ship and said, yes, you can own a cannon, bombs away. Joe Biden also made the tireless claim that deer don't wear Kevlar vests. He said this over and over and over again, which, if he was smart, he would know that the Second Amendment is more than just for hunting. It is for protecting yourself and others from the government and also from intruders and people that want to kill you. In the end, these tragic shootings hurt my heart, and when they happen, they occupy my brain for the whole day. There are evil people in this world that want to do terrible things to children, adults, and people that are vulnerable. Criminals will continue to break the law, no matter what. It doesn't matter how many gun control measures you push, they will still break the law. That is why we need real, concrete solutions to make sure that our schools, our grocery stores, or our churches, hospitals, and our homes are safe. There are real solutions out there that respect the Second Amendment and don't strip people of their rights. Hopefully these solutions will be put into place so then people can live and defend themselves no matter what. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.